Hi, my name is Nastasia, and I am a survivor of narcissistic and emotional abuse. And this channel is where I share what I've learned through personal experiences and healing. And for those who are trying to leave or recently left a relationship where you've questioned yourself, are you in a narcissistic or emotionally abusive relationship? I am not here to diagnose anyone. I'm here to talk about patterns, clarity, and reclaiming yourself, your sense of self, and how clarity does slowly come back into your life. So let's just dive into it. If you have recently left a narcissistic relationship that you believe was narcissistic or emotionally abusive, you're probably trying to find your strength right now. When I left my relationship, that was my biggest thing. I didn't know how to be alone, and I was struggling with rumination. I overthought everything. I reread every text message. I put together every timeline. I tried to figure out every lie again. I was going like a crazy lady. I probably wasn't getting any sleep. And if you're like anything like me, where you were really struggling with rumination, let me tell you how you can start to get a little bit of your strength back. That is what this video is going to be geared towards today, because I feel like whenever you do leave the narcissist, there's not enough videos about the rumination, and that was one thing I really struggled with. I would stay up late at night overthinking everything. Did he lie to me about this? And what about when he said this? And was I wrong? Was I not patient? Was my tone off? And I started blaming myself for a lot of things as well. I started thinking, what if I wasn't compassionate enough towards him for what he was going through in his life? And what if I wasn't understanding enough? What if I did come off wrong about that? If you're questioning everything that you did and this person has mistreated you, 9 times out of 10, you're not the problem. With narcissists, they are very good at manipulation and making you feel like everything is your fault. They will have you questioning your reality, and they will have you questioning what was really true, real, or not true. One thing that really helped me regain my strength was understanding how I even got involved in that situation. That was one thing I used to question myself was, how did I even end up in this? What was it that I was lacking in my life that made me get with this person in the first place? There was so many red flags in the beginning that I ignored, all because I was wanting that fairy tale, and there was things that I was that really lacked in my life or my previous relationship that left me feeling very vulnerable. When I got with the narcissist, I was out of a relationship for about 6 to 8 months, I want to say. And that relationship, I did not receive like any physical touch. There was like no emotional bonding. So I was kind of depleted on my love tank for what I needed. So when the narcissist came into my life, and he was very affectionate, very love bombing, very, always telling me how great I looked, and, giving me that validation that I saw in my last relationship that I wasn't getting, it was very easy for me to fall for him immediately. I literally, it really fast tracked really fast. I was spending so much time with him up front, so much, and he wanted me to spend so much time with him up front. And I feel like that was probably a red flag that I didn't ignore, that, this person was wanting to spend almost every day with me, and wanting to just overflow me with a bunch of future faking, wanted to build a business with me immediately, made me feel like I was the one. That was probably the first red flag. So I had to realize how I got in that situation. And, with therapy, I definitely did therapy. And it took therapy for me to realize, this is how I ended up in that. I was very depleted, and I let someone come in a very vulnerable state of my life when I should have really been focused on continuing to heal. And I would have not been so vulnerable. So if you're in that phase of your life right now, do not beat yourself up about it. We all are struggling. We've all gone through the phase of the breakups, and breakups hurt. But breakups with a narcissist definitely hit different, because you are now experiencing the trauma bond part of it where you feel tied to this person, and no matter what they do, you're willing to forgive them. And you might even be in that phase where you're like, I just want to have the strength to leave. But then some days you're like, oh, I don't even care. I can look past the disrespect. I can look past the cheating. I can look past the abuse. I unfortunately, when in my situation, not only was I verbally disrespected and cheated on, but I was physically assaulted as well. I was, he would spit in my face, or he would, put hands on me, or verbally, threaten to kill me and so forth. So there's a lot that I went through in that situation. And even outside of that, I even still decided to go back into it. And this is why I'm making this video, because I want to help women who are in the same position as me not go back to it. So I'm going to give you just a couple of tips of things that helped me not continue to go back, because I went back so many times and I looked crazy, and it came to the point that I couldn't even tell my family and friends that I was still communicating with him, that I had gone back, because I was just so embarrassed. I knew everybody just did not understand why did I keep going back? And so if I can help, just a woman with a situation today who is, just suffering, I just want to help you gain a little bit of strength and help you gain a little bit of clarity. It's not going to be today. You're not going to find, all the clarity that you do need, but every day is a stepping stone towards that peace. So some things that really helped me while I was going through that breakup was journaling. This is essential to your healing process. And even right now, I have 2 full journals that I wrote in, and they're both full. And what I did was I journaled everything that I was feeling, everything that I went through, everything that I can recant, because it was essential to my healing process. Because every time that I did journal, I would read what I wrote either the day before or the week before or the month before. Most of the time I read everything to remind myself of what I was going through, and to ask myself anytime that I had any self-doubt that I felt like I wanted to go back into the situation, why did I want to go back? Why? Like, why am I putting myself through this? Why am I back overthinking? Why do I want this person back? Why am I missing this person so much? Because we all know that breakups hurt. So journaling was super essential to my healing process. Definitely recommend it. You don't need anything extravagant. I mean, these are just random books that I got, I think from the dollar store, and I would literally write page after page after page in them about everything that I went through. And so I'm encouraging you not only to write in them, but also every time that you're writing, reread what you wrote, so that you can continue to, now you're pushing those good memories out. Because sometimes when the good memories that you think you have with the narcissist, you're allowing that to overshadow everything that you're going through. And I did that a lot too. So journaling is one. Another thing that really helped me was talking out loud. And it's going to sound crazy, but in the shower or when I was doing my hair and I was going through rumination, I literally would have to talk to myself out loud. And I would say, why do you want him back? He did this and that to you. What makes you, he's not going to change, so I had to really talk to myself out loud. And sometimes when I talk to myself out loud, it was like I was empowering myself. I was like, yeah, girl, like, you don't need him, and it really does help. So, I mean, I can't really describe it too much into words, but try it. Talk out loud to yourself. Tell yourself the situation and be fully transparent. Nobody's going to hear you. And tell yourself what you're feeling, and ask yourself why. And then answer those questions to yourself. Why? Look in the mirror at yourself and ask yourself why. Why do you want him back after this and that? Because at this point of your breakup, you're hurting, and you're trying to probably find answers and validate maybe what he was saying or feeling or whatever the case may be. Another thing that I did do that helped me really get through the breakup, or really helped me, I guess, transition out of that that trauma bond phase, was I learned how to be alone. Learning how to be alone is super hard after a narcissistic relationship, and I know. it was one of the hardest things that I did do. Learning how to be in my own space, not feeling like I wanted his affection, his attention, him to call, him to text, him to validate. That is all super hard. But you kind of have to, or what, no, I'm sorry, not you kind of have to, what worked for me, and this may not work for everybody. So with these videos, please pick and choose what information that you feel is going to work for you and try it, but do not force anything that I'm telling you to do, especially if it doesn't make you feel better. These videos are just for educational purposes as far as what I went through, and what worked for me. And I've listened to other videos on YouTube, that when I was going through the breakup, I picked and choose what I felt would work for me too. So for me personally, I had a problem with being alone, and I realized that. And I knew I was not going to break that habit until I did. It's almost like riding a bike, right? Kids are scared to get on a bike. It's scary without the training wheels. But until you take the training wheels off, that's when you feel comfortable, or that's when you could get your kids to feel more confident and comfortable. And then next thing you know, they're riding without the training wheels. It's the same thing with being alone. I was scared of being alone, and it freaked me out. I was used to of having him, around me all the time. And when he wasn't, I was always just trying to, be around my family or friends, go out, drink, party, whatever would take my mind off of it. And one day I realized I'm just like, the partying, the drinking, it wasn't making me happy. I needed to learn how to be alone. Like I wanted to learn how to enjoy my house. I wanted to be fine with being home on a Friday night and watching a movie and ordering takeout without boohoo crying and thinking that I was a loser, I was inadequate. What am I missing? Why am I not good enough? Why does no one want me? Why am I not loved? Because all of these questions ring in my head is, how did I end up in this breakup? How did I end up here? Why am I not lovable? Why was I not enough? That was a big thing for me. It made me wonder, why was I not enough for him to just want me? Why am I not enough for anybody right now? So I definitely did where I made myself have dates with myself at home. I would find a good Netflix series. I would order some of my favorite food, and I literally pressed through on making myself learn how to be home alone and be comfortable with being alone. I feel like whenever you are able to be alone, that is a different type of superhuman strength that you will have that is going to follow you for the next for your whole lifetime, that you're not going to let any other person play with you, or you're not going to let any other person take advantage of you, because you are comfortable with walking away from situations because you're going to be okay being alone. And that's why I say it's so important. I tell my friends this all the time, and I realize even now with some of my friends that I'm giving advice to, that when we're spotting a little bit of like some manipulation or a little bit of maybe some narcissistic disorder personality traits, that, one of my friends, she had a really hard time being alone. I mean, it would freak her out. She had bad anxiety, and I challenged her to do the same thing. And I would tell you, like, amazingly, it has worked out so much better for her. Like, she is, as a single woman dating, but she's not relying on men to give her that comfort that we have all, wanted before, where we're just pretty much, we're like, hey, I want, to be in a relationship. I want that comfort. And then we become reliant on that comfort, to where if someone disrespects you, if someone takes advantage of you, if someone manipulates you, you're afraid to leave because you don't want to leave that comfort. So these are just a few things that just came to my head, what helped me. I will definitely be making more videos highlighting certain things about narcissistic personality disorders that I've learned and I have experienced with men, or I'm sorry, and I shouldn't even say with men, just in general. Because I've experienced with women too, family members and so forth, and we'll dive into that in other videos. But, this video is not just geared, let me just say this video is not just geared towards narcissistic personality disorder of one gender. That, let me just say, it does come, men and women can both be narcissistic, manipulative, and so forth. So I hope this video helped give you a little bit of clarity in your situation, and just understand that, clarity returns and when your nervous system is not settles. It's not when you force yourself to move on. And sorry, yes, I did write that down. There's a couple of key points that I wrote down that I was reading today, because I wanted to make sure I hit these points for you guys. So this is going to be my first video, and there's many more to come. And if this video brought you any type of peace, just know that this is a safe space. Stay here, subscribe below, comment if there's something that you do want me to touch on. I'll be glad to touch on it. Thank you.